All right, we're live. Celtics live post-game show. I swear to God, this team is going to drive me crazy. It's a fact. There's no way around. There's been enough groundwork laid that it is just a fact this team is going to drive me crazy. There's games like this where all of a sudden, it's back and forth. They're doing bad things. They're doing great things. And it just ends in a dagger by Luka Doncic. There's games where they're blowing teams out this year. There's games where they're getting blown out this year. I think it's just a matter of having no clue what this team is. But if we're looking at that game individually, we just got Luka Doncic. I think that can be a verb. Luka dropped over 30 points, making it, was it the 7th game in a row or 8th game in a row that the other team had a 30-plus point score on the Celtics? I'm no basketball expert. I guess I should be, but I'm no expert, and I don't think that's good. Especially when you got names like Saddiq Bey in that list, but Luka Doncic is the latest name on the list tonight. He hit two crazy shots and put the Celtics away tonight. So let's get to some of the box score. We'll get to some of the chat. And, you guys know the drill. It's a Celtics bench session. We're pretty much doing this after every single Celtics game. Why am I calling it a post-game show if it's just a bench session, right? But anyway, Celtics take the loss 110-107. Before we get into the box score, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. It's free. You get content like this. Hit the subscribe button. If you're watching on Periscope or Twitch, please do me a favor. Head over to the Guy Boston Sports YouTube channel and consider subscribing to the channel. And also like this stream right now on YouTube. Let's get into some of the box score here. And then we'll get to all the chat. So the box score, honestly, you look at this, you're like, yay. The big three went for, I don't want to do math right now, but I guess I can do it. The big three went for 78 points. They all scored 20 points. That's great. Some of these percentages look a little bit better post-game than they did during the game because I think, like Kemba and even Jaylen and Tatum all hit some timely shots late in the game. But, the box score doesn't look terrible. Some of these plus-minus numbers would look bad. Some of the percentages look bad. But, hey, Jason Tatum had 28, Jaylen Brown had 29, and Kemba had 21. If you put that in a vacuum, I guess you'll take it. On the Mavericks side of things, Luka, 31. Brunson went off 22. Richardson 6. You just can't have Luka going, 50% from the field, 75% from three, and almost posting a trip dub right on the Celtics' head. It's like every single night someone says, okay, you know what? Celtics, even if you do want to have one of your better nights, let's just have someone go off. Let's not worry about having to fight a team either. We'll just go and fight the team's best superstar who's going to try and break records on our forehead. It's frustrating. And if you're just joining the stream now, it's crazy that this team is where they are now. Is it below 500? Do I have that right? It is crazy. And I think they're going to drive us crazy. Let's get into some of the chat here. Kale says, goddamn, Luka. I think he just Doncic'd us. It's a verb. Gear says, wow, just wow. Steven says, you have to double Luka, but Brown shouldn't have been switched. Why did we stop blitzing him? I don't get it. I know, I saw that. I tweeted, I said, what can you do better? I'll say this. You can obviously say, oh, yeah, you don't want to switch that. You don't want to do this. They had him locked up. You don't play 24 seconds of defense better than that. He just made the shot. And I guess I could say shots, in the final two possessions. I don't know if I want to play the game of, oh, they shouldn't have switched or, make sure you're better defenders on him. I think that they locked him up and he just made a Luka Doncic shot. The kid's a superstar. He just made the shot. But, I agree. If there's one thing we can say, you don't switch. But who knows what would happen if they didn't switch. You want to keep him tight. You want to keep him as far away from the hoop as possible. They did that, and he just made an unbelievable shot. News says, I hate this season. I'm getting to that point. I'm texting buddies during this game. I'm like, is this the first year in quite some time that it's just not even it's just not enjoyable. It's not fun. It's almost embarrassing to say, hey, I'm a Celtics fan right here. Me, this guy, I'm a Celtics fan. It's crazy. This team has no guts, no balls, no nothing. J-Max says this team just isn't good enough. Greg says they suck, deserve to lose. Brad's lineups are terrible. I didn't have any like true tangible things. I was like, screw Brad tonight. But I will say, Robert Williams playing 14 minutes, Grant Williams coming into the game before him. It's like we have to make up our minds about this rotation. A rotation, it should be somewhat firm, somewhat concrete, no matter who you're playing, because the hierarchy of your team should work out, right? You shouldn't have this, okay, this is our starting lineup, and then who the hell knows what's happening after that? That is what points to this being a unfinished team, a team that isn't built correctly, a team that doesn't have the pieces it needs, because you shouldn't have this amazing, or I shouldn't say amazing, this ridiculous drop-off after 1 through 5, 1 through 6, and then it's kind of like, hey, let's roll the dice and figure out who we want to play tonight. That's BS. And we can say that's Danny, we can say, Brad's got the rotations all out of whack, we can say it all. It's this team is just driving me absolutely insane right now. Donovan's on the bright side. Tatum and Brown are all-stars. Only thing that's keeping me going at this point. I mean, shout out. Tatum, obviously, I think we knew it, but shout out to Jaylen Brown. Let's give him credit where it's due. I mean, the dude's having a season. He's having an all-star season. Obviously, he's now an all-star, and I'm glad for him. I think he's finally gotten what he deserves. I think he could have had a chance of making it last year as well. So shout out to Jaylen Brown. That is the positive news of the night. But this game was not positive news. J-Max says he's done caring about the season. Mike Earl says, why Nesmith at the end of the game? Yeah, it was weird. Again, these are all things we can kind of go back on and say, like, what's going on here? Nesmith getting late minutes when, I don't think that he was terrible this game, but he did a whole lot of nothing out there, and now he's getting late minutes. I don't know. It's confusing. AC says, I'm sick. This is the one I thought they deserved better. Yeah. Yep. Jason says, we watched a lead disappeared in the third quarter. Most of the team and the team that come out of the second. Blackjack saying, madness. Isaac says, we cannot wait for the deadline moves. We need to be made immediately. Damian saying, please, Payne, not please. You do not wish one of these. He says, Payne. Steven says, why is Nesmith even in? Why do we switch after doubling Luka all game? That's the thing. There was things that could have been done on Luka, right? But we got to admit that was just a crazy shot. Like, they played defense. It'd be one thing if, like, they switched, obviously now a bigger body on him, a big man on him, and he breaks his ankles and makes a shot. He still just drained that, So it's like, I don't know, maybe that's me looking at it glass half full. I could be the crazy one. Maybe it's me looking at it glass half full saying, you know what? The defense was good. Luka made the shot. Maybe I'm giving the defensive assignments, the defensive idea, the defensive plan there too much of a break. If I am, then that's fair. You know what I mean? But I feel like they played defense. They played plenty defense on that last couple possessions, and he just said, you know what? Let me just make this shot because I'm a superstar. And it's what superstars do. But I don't know. You guys could be right because I'm seeing a lot of the chat saying, switching, doubling, all that jazz. God saying this team does not care. Yeah, and that's the thing, too. It's like, I know they, and it's almost, when I say it's the thing, I mean it's like the annoyance of this team. Over and over again, we see them sort of contending down the last few minutes of the game. But by that point, it's almost like it's been, it's too little too late. This team goes on absolute runs during the game where they just forget that they're still playing. And then, they play okay in the last couple minutes in some cases. And, they go to overtime against the Pelicans, or they go back and forth and go on an 11-2 run or whatever against the Mavericks. But we can't forget about that part that I'm talking about where they just decided to be gutless, ballless idiots out there. That's the frustrating part. There are games, and I think this could fall into the category of there are games where you can put this away. This one might be a fringe, you know what I mean? But let's use the Pelicans as an example. There are games where there's no hiding it. You could have put this game away, and you didn't. And there's so many examples of that this year. So, yeah, they're coming back and forth. They're making shots. It's coming down to a superstar making a shot. But that doesn't get them off the hook for losing the game. It might get them off the hook, Luka making a great shot it might get them off the hook for the last couple of minutes of play because it's like, okay, a superstar made a good shot. What are you going to do? How about you play basketball in the third quarter? How about you don't come out of half? It's the list goes on and on for just absolute recurring issues within this team. Kale says Doncic should could do that to anyone. I don't think you can be mad about that. Yeah, that's the boat I'm falling into, and I don't know. Maybe I'm letting him off too easy. J-Max says, Luke is the truth. The C's are not. Arnaldo saying no leprechaun on our side this season. CS saying Rob Williams comes in, spectacular dunks, spectacular blocks. Take him out for the rest of the quarter. It's true. I can only imagine what's going through Robert Williams' head. Like, if Robert Williams is coming in and looking, I'm not going to say great, but looking like he's an absolute serviceable big man, and then has flashes of greatness, right? So he's doing his job, and then boom, the stock bounces and skyrockets, and then maybe he comes back to doing his job. But some of these skyrockets in there can drive momentum, can drive this team and get them going and get the excitement going. You know what doesn't get that excitement going? All of a sudden say, hey, Rob, that was really great that you did that, but that bench, that seat on the bench is calling your name, and we got Daniel Tice replacing you, or Tristan Thompson. I can only imagine what's going through Robert Williams' head. It's like he makes great plays, makes good plays, and then all of a sudden he's like, wait, I'm coming out? Okay, it just must be the way it is. It's crazy. Connor says, would it really be the worst thing ever if this team got a lottery pick? I don't think so. I don't even know if... no, it wouldn't, but I will say this. What have they done with their lottery picks recently? Nothing that makes immediate impact. I don't know if... but I hear you. AC says, not sure this team is going to the playoffs. I called this. Now, I don't think it's going to be the case. I have to imagine they're a playoff team. But I said if they continue to play like this over and over again, they're just going to work themselves out of the playoffs. They're pretty damn close right now. Before we get to any more to the chat, I'm going to remind everyone, if you're watching on Periscope, please head over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel there. That is where we're going to be focusing these streams moving forward. And come March, I believe, maybe end of March, whenever Periscope has decided to close its doors officially, we're going to be doing this on YouTube. So if you're watching on Periscope, I see a lot of Periscope comments tonight. Please consider heading over to YouTube. I tweeted out the link, and subscribing to the channel and joining the chat there. And like this stream as well. Just because the Celtics lost, you don't need to dislike the stream. But we are getting some, not to just completely go on a rant here. We are getting to some dislikes and some waves making from the stream. So I don't know. Hey, it's what happens when this team is playing terribly. I'm gonna have some strong takes. You guys are gonna have some strong takes. I read all comments on the chat. People are gonna get frustrated. They're gonna think that it's a bad show. They know they know better than that, but they're just gonna get frustrated. But, that's neither here nor there. Let's get to some more of the chat here. News says, this is not a Celtics basketball team. No defense, no heart, no prize, no clues, and I'm going to add no balls. No gut, no nothing. Steven says, no more rookies. This is why we're in the position now. Ray says, dude, I have no words. Wow, like, what the heck? Unless we make a miraculous trade or we're done this year, man, I don't have the words to express how pissed off I am. This is my thing. So, yes, all correct, by the way. Comments all correct. We've said it. We've said it at length. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but if Danny goes and does nothing, is Jason Tatum going to be like, dude, what the hell? Is Jaylen Brown going to be like, what the hell? You're not even going to try and make a little bitty move? You're not going to do anything? You're going to just have us play with this team? I'm worried about that. I mean, I'm probably like 10 steps ahead, putting on my green teamer investigative hat and reading way too much into this team because I live, breathe, and die the Celtics clearly. But is Danny Ainge going to not do anything? And then all of a sudden there becomes that sort of like, the heck, dude, from Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown. I hope that's not the case, but I can't imagine they're having fun, dropping 28 points, 29 points, and then watching their team still get smacked around. Jason says, I tweeted that Dallas won the game in the third quarter. Dakota says, you can't call them a big three. That's fair. I'll give you that one, Dakota. Dakota, I know you're in here trolling a lot, but I'll give you that one. I don't know if we can call Kemba Walker part of a big three the way he's been this year. Chris says Doncic won that game, but Boston's defense wasn't great. Jaylen didn't have to switch, and gave Luka too much space to bring the ball up the court. So I'll say this. Doncic won that game. The Celtics lost that game. You know what I mean? So that kind of gives credence to both sides of the argument here that I'm making. Luka, that wasn't the Celtics just sucking that Luka made that shot. Luka made that shot because he's just a stud. But the Celtics did everything they could in minutes 1 through 48 to make sure that was a difficult game for them and to put the Mavericks in that position. Eshwar says KG, I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but I'm going to roll with it. Eshwar says KG should take over as an assistant coach or something at this point. This team has got no heart. I mean, that'd be amazing. I don't know. I feel like KG's just got his money. He's got his own whatever the hell he's doing. But if KG could come in here and just talk to the guys and say, hey, when you run back on defense, just slap the floor as hard as you can. And all of a sudden you'll be feeling it. I'd do that. I would take that, I guess I should say. Because this team needs something. This needs a shakeup, and I don't know what that shakeup could be because there's just so many things. I shouldn't say I don't know what that shakeup could be because I can imagine thousands of things this team needs. New says 14 minutes for Rob. Meanwhile, Tyson Tristan combined for 10 freaking points. Tristan Thompson, I think, was all right this game. I'm going to defend him. I think Tristan Thompson had, think about what he was dealing with there. Willie Cauley-Stein, who he does not match up well against, right? The guy's long and athletic. That's not your Tristan Thompson matchup. And then, I've been to botch his name, Boban Marjanovic. Like, Tristan Thompson, the fact that he had 10 boards, 4 offensive rebounds, 8 points, plus 6, I'm going to say, okay, you know what, Tristan, you did your job. But Daniel Tice, I know he had a great game a couple of games ago, but I'm kind of starting to be like, why is this guy playing 30 minutes while Robert Williams is going from 20 minutes to 14 minutes to 20 minutes to not playing? It's like kind of crazy to me that Robert Williams is sitting on the bench looking at Daniel Tice and saying, that's the guy that I can't seem to beat out, right? That's the guy I can't seem to beat out in this rotation. Daniel Tice, who, again, like I said, he's kind of an unsung hero of this team. He's been, he's been given a tall task, and he's done a great job of it the last couple of years. But Daniel Tice goes to another team. I don't think we miss him. You know what I mean? And that's the guy Robert Williams is thinking he's competing with and not beating right now. It's got to be demoralizing to him. Gear saying we're the Celtics. Blackjack saying unbelievable. BP says, did you see the Euro step that Grant tried 2 inches to the right, 2 inches to the left, and couldn't get around the defender and then jumped in foul? Womp womp. Hey, Grant Williams. You guys know where I stand with Grant. He's just proving me right by the game. Yara says, I'm sorry, Brad Stevens has the go. The thing with Brad Stevens this game, it's like, I didn't see him do anything poorly other than rotations, I guess, but he didn't do anything great. I don't know about this. I don't know if this is a fire Brad Stevens game, but we talked about it at length last stream, and my point's still the same. I think we can just ask him to get better. The fact that I tweeted that out, let me pull it up while we read some of these comments. I tweeted that out and still was getting hate in the comments. And it's like, how can you hate a comment like this? It's so logical. And I know I'm behind on the chat. I promise I'm going to catch up. I'll probably end up skipping a chunk today. But how can you look at a tweet like this and say, okay, you know what? You're wrong, Ev. I'm not even kidding. I'm not patting myself on the back or anything. When you look at this, and I'll blow it up for you guys, people still overly defending Brad Stevens is nuts. I don't want to fire him at all, but if you don't think Brad Stevens should be better and should continue to improve as a coach, you are just a dummy. Why can't a coach get better just like I'd ask a player to get better? There's people in the comments saying Brad's not the problem. He can't make the players try, blah, blah, blah. I know there's bigger Celtics Twitter accounts out there and whatnot that say, does Eric Spoelstra motivate his players or anything like this? It's all bullshit. Yes, the coach matters on a basketball team, especially when your 2 young stars are like below the age 25. Them having some sort of, superior figure, authority figure on the team, that matters. So I'm sorry. Brad deserves blame. I'm not ready to fire him. I know I'm on a rant here, but it's the case. It is. He needs to get better, and I don't see how you can disagree with my tweet there. All right, skipping ahead just a little bit, guys. I apologize. You guys know I like to get to every single comment, but it's getting tough as these streams grow. So we got Tucker saying, the switch was so frustrating. Brown should have stuck with Luka. Agreed. I think that is a correct answer, right? My only thing is that they still played good defense after that. Was it Tice that switched on him? I can't even fully remember now. But it's not like he just got burst and beaten. You know what I mean? He didn't get burnt. He played good defense. Luka made the shot. But it is, I think frustrating is a fine word. So I'll give you that, Tucker. For sure. AD says, how do we fast forward the season until Smart comes back? I think that's, it's crazy to me that at the beginning of this year, we were talking about Smart being expendable, right? Well, everyone, hey, you got your wish. Anyone that wanted Smart out the door, you got your wish, and this is the team that we're left with. Smart is so valuable to this team, and if there's any stretch of play that proves that, it's right now. It is. This team, it's not a coincidence that it's happened right now. Danny says, tough loss. It's hard to watch them lose these winnable games. I love this team. It's getting painful, but Brad has to figure out lineups. Luka is unbelievable to be a devil's advocate. Yeah, like I said, Luka won the game. The Celtics lost the game. I think that's fair to say. Hayden says, the only explanation for Rob not playing is his hip issues. Yeah, but then I don't want him to be injured, but then I want to hear about that. You know what I mean? I don't want to hear another Brad Stevens like, hey, we had him in for a matchup purpose. Some sort of bull like that. If it's his hip, let us know it's his hip. Rather than playing him, 10 minutes, rather than, compared to Daniel Tice playing 25 minutes. All right, skipping ahead just a little bit. Tucker says, I'm sold. Brown's their best player. Like Tatum, the game is frustrating. I don't know. I think Brown might be their best two-way player for sure because he can go off and score more points than Tatum. But I do think every NBA team is going to live and die by a guy that can make the difficult shot, and I think that's Jason Tatum right now. But the fact that it's a conversation speaks well to Brown. Abdul says, you don't have a bench. That's their problem. You can't win with a bench full of rookies. Yeah? Yeah? What? Like, go into NBA history. Everyone, find a team that just won with a bench like this. You don't even waste your time. I'll tell you, you don't. You can't find it. News saying, only saving grace is the rest of the East is horrible. Could end up with a 3 seed barely above 500. Yeah, I mean, that's glass half full. I feel like I haven't said glass half full this many times in my entire existence on this planet. But because this team is so bad lately, I'm like looking for glass half full, and I say it every single stream. But you're right. I mean, it's fair. It's fair that they could end up a 3 seed. But I'll tell you what. This team's going to get smacked by the Nets or by the Sixers or even the Bucks at this point, even though they're sliding. Or this, even Toronto, I think, could beat the way the Celtics are playing right now. They're going to get smacked if they bring this weak stuff into the playoffs, no matter who they play, no matter when they play them. Yara says the coach is supposed to keep them together. Exactly. Danny says also this team is obviously losing leads in the fourth quarter, but some teams can lose leads and actually come back. We lose the lead and immediately panic and shit our pants. Yeah, and then they start jacking threes. They start doing a bunch of crazy stuff. Gabe says you don't win or lose games because of one shot. It's a whole game, and C's did not deserve to win this game. Well put, Gabe. Well put. Tucker says, damn, tough loss. Don, it wasn't doing that to Brown. BP says Danny drafts 5 point guards under 6 feet tall, and the team has 80% of the league's tiny point guards. And guess what? A point guard under 6 feet tall torches us all night. Ray says, love the gray on gray. By the way, Ev, I mean, I guess when I dress like this, I set the Celtics up for failure. I got to dress in winning colors. But I'm feeling gloomy lately about this team. Ray says, I love when comments start this way. I haven't even read the rest of it, Ray. Ray says, I don't care who disagrees with me. You never gave Carson Edwards the chance to be a beast like he was in college. The dude can score, period, but never got the real chance to prove himself. I think we've talked about it before, too. I agree he never got the chance. I am in the boat that he's never going to get the chance. I will say that Brad clearly had some sort of a short leash with him because if you want to call whatever Carson Edwards has gotten with this team a chance so far, he hasn't gotten into the room and he hasn't looked as good as he could have, right, Ray? So I think his time probably on this team, not necessarily on this team, but his chance on this team has come and gone, and I'm sure he's going to go somewhere to a team where he has a chance and actually be a pretty good ball player. An offensive guy, I think, that's fair to say. He's not a defender, but I think Carson Edwards has shown what he can do when given an opportunity. That being said, I don't know if they're, a 4'11" guard off the bench that can score fixes all of their problems. I'm not saying you're saying that either, but I just need to throw it in there. Let's see. Willis is saying you can't have a close score around Luka. That's the thing. That is the thing. Yara says, Brad is the reason we are in this mess. Like, he needs to get fired. How do you take Rob Williams out? It's questionable. I'll say that. It is questionable. It's really questionable. I think he did bring in Tristan Thompson at the end, who I just got finished defending. Like, I think Tristan had a pretty good game. Thing with Brad Stevens is, and I want this to start being a thing, if someone's going to say fire Brad Stevens, you got to have another name ready. Like, who's their coach then? Right? Now, they've been better in the past years, and I made that, you go to the Eastern Conference Finals. You don't just fire your coach. Now it's like, well, they're a below 500 ball club. It's like, well, when do you fire your coach? So, and I tweeted it out. I think, 1,200 people responded to the poll on Twitter, and it was 25% yes to firing Brad Stevens, 75% no. So it's like 1 in every 4. Yara said, or he just read that. BP says, does he read the Yuku comments or are they coming in from somewhere else? I do. I'm just behind in the comments, BP. That's what it is. There's a lot of comments in here. I read these comments are all coming in from different platforms, but I do get to the comments just a little bit behind. I try to catch up. I tell you guys that. It just isn't always that easy. All right, skipping ahead just a little bit. Chris says, hot take, Kemba and Brad aren't part of this organization at the start of next year. Hey, talk about a shakeup. There it is. Clint says, I'm over Semi. He can go. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy to see Semi be your leading bench scorer in Banner Banter podcast tweeted this out. I was just on his show a couple days ago. Your leading bench scorer, and then he was the worst on the team for plus minus. Like that's not a recipe for success. In a back and forth game, plus minus actually is pretty applicable. Eshwar says, I hope Rob Williams plays for a team who actually respects him. Yeah, I hope that's the Celtics, but it doesn't seem like it is right now. Will is saying Celtics will be a 6 or 7 seeded, but they're going to mess around and not make it at all. I wouldn't be surprised, to be honest. Me neither. Not the way they're playing right now. Ron says, hell, it looks like Brad Stevens is checked out. Every time they flash to him, every time we get him mic'd up, it seems like he's just saying what he needs to say. Like, in a back and forth game, they mic'd him up and he was like, hey guys, go out there and be you. Or whatever the saying was. And I'm like, I don't know. Like, that just doesn't do it for me. Like, why are you telling Jason Tatum, go be you, man? Or against the Pelicans, he was like, hey, stay in this moment. Stay in this moment right now while they were losing, blowing a 24-point lead comeback. No. Get out of that moment. Get yourself as far away from that moment as possible. Don't stay in that moment. And it's just weird. It's weird, some of these things he's saying, but it's the type of coach he is. I just wish that, he was, because he is clearly knowledgeable about the game. I wish that he would say, okay, I need to switch something. If he's not comfortable being a motivator or yelling at a guy, well, tough luck. You might need to do that in this league, Brad. Oh, it's not his style. It's not his style. Introduce 1 ounce of that and you might become a better coach. Get better. That's it. I don't want to fire him. Get better. Just like I asked Jason Tatum. Just like I asked Jaylen Brown, and we all ask them to get better every single game, every single month. Brad Stevens, get better, improve. You shouldn't be the same coach you were when you came into the league. And he can't get by with, he's the young phenom with a bright future coach. No, he's been in like 8 years now. Well, let's get it together. Put your money where your mouth is. Clint says, why does Time Lord not start? Tice is garbage. Kellen's saying, I beg Danny to do something. This is on him. He puts this team together. I think that's the thing. That's when you know you have a team in trouble, right? Danny at fault. Brad at fault. Kemba, the organization, the coach, the players. That's when you know you have a team that is spiraling out of control, when we can literally say it is at every level. That ain't a good thing. Newsflash, it ain't a good thing. That there is fault to be blamed at every single level. Office, coach, players. It's crazy. Like, that is, it's like we're here talking about the Knicks on postgame. Like, what's this team doing? They're a dumpster fire. Now look at the Knicks. I think they lost tonight, but they've been playing good. Like, when did the world get turned upside down? I don't know. All right, we're going to skip ahead in the comments again a couple times now. I apologize. But I'm trying to stay relevant here, stay recent. Yeah, I guess relevant. As I talk and then I read comments, you guys could have commented this, 10 minutes ago, and it's not relevant anymore. Kale says, I really honestly think Brad has been taking measurements for Ainge. He's taking the heat, allowing players to go and show out while he and Ainge collaborate on who needs to go. I hope so. Like, maybe I'll give you that, Kale. You know what I mean? Like, maybe they acknowledge that this is a dumpster fire and they're trying to plot and test guys out and see what's working. But it's gone on for a while. You know what I mean? Like, I know Grant Williams stinks. Why is he playing? I know Robert Williams is good. Why isn't he playing? You know what I mean? Like, why is it taking Brad Stevens so damn long to realize that? Or Danny Ainge? So I hope they got some master plan cooking in the back. But come on now. Steven says, y'all are actually crazy if you think Brown is better than Tatum. Yeah, I don't think he's better than him. I think he might be a better two-way player. But I see a lot in that chat tonight, Brown better than Tatum. I think Tatum, when it's all said and done, is going to be better than Brown. But it's not like I'm diminishing Brown. And I hope every one of you guys saying that in the chat tonight, that Brown's better than Tatum, you're not saying it to diminish or deplete what Tatum's done. That better just be to elevate Brown, because then I'm just not going to argue. You have your preference, whatever. He had a better game tonight, right? But either way we look at these guys, when we compare them, say who's better than who, it can't be to take away from the other guy. Tommy says, tonight was not a team playing like a team. That is desperate for a win. It's extremely annoying. Okay. I should have mentioned that way earlier in the stream, so I'm glad we're like a half hour in and Tom, you mentioned it. This team, this Celtics team, took a you-know-what on the floor and just sniffed it up last game. They blew a near 25-point lead against the Pelicans and then lost in overtime. That's this team. And they come out here and drop another loss in a winnable game. Like, this loss, whatever. Luka makes the big shot. You didn't have your best game. If you just blew the Pelicans out by 24, I don't think this loss is that big of a deal. But to respond to you blowing it like this, that says a lot about the team. It does. Jason says Brad can be with Boston for 15 years and still would not win. People would still not to blame him. That's the thing. There's some Brad Stevens people out there that I don't know how much he's paying them. I don't know how much, they're drinking the Brad Stevens Kool-Aid. But the fact that I get, X'd on Twitter and people shit on me on Twitter for asking the guy to get better. Are people crazy? I say I want our coach to be better. And I get everyone in my mentions and comments with their Brad Stevens boners saying, what? Better? The players have to try. You can't do that. This guy is the greatest coach ever. The players have to try, or it's the team Danny built. There's blame to go around. And if you're trying to say Brad Stevens is squeaky clean right now after this season, you are crazy. Crazy. Gear says, I would bring back Horford. I mean, I would bring back anybody at this point. I'm literally I'm so close to hitting that panic button. Like, DeMarcus Cousins was a name. Bring him in. Why not? What do you have to lose? Any of these names that have been floated out. I don't care if you hate the player, if you think he was good 5 years ago, if you think he was good 10 years ago. What do you have to lose by bringing someone else into this team? What you got going ain't working. What you're doing right now is not going too well. So why not bring someone in? DeMarcus Cousins, Andre Drummond, Horford, you name it, I'm probably on board at this point. Ray says, all is fair in love, war, and basketball. Chris says, my glass half full take of the season is still taking Boston over Philly and Toronto in the playoffs. Definitely not getting past Brooklyn, though. Yeah, I agree. And depending on where they are in seeding-wise, well, they could be playing Brooklyn first round, but they can be playing them next round. Who knows? Ray says, well, due respect, Brad Stevens is already better. He cannot teach his players, and that is his problem. Okay, so I think reaches players. I do think he's better. I think that's the hothead in me saying he hasn't improved at all. Brad Stevens obviously has improved. He's obviously done a lot as a coach, bringing teams that have been injured, bumped, and bruised to the Eastern Conference Finals. But when you lose the locker room or you lose the team, that becomes an issue. I don't care if you know the X's and O's in every single language of basketball. If you lose the locker room or you lose the confidence of your players, your team isn't going far. And that's what I hope hasn't happened. And we've talked about it before. Jason Tatum on the JJ Redick podcast talked about how Brad isn't a motivator. He's an X's and O's guy. Coach K was way more of a motivator, made him come to practice and come to games ready to go. Brad isn't that type of guy. I just wish Brad Stevens would say, okay, you know what? I know I'm not that type of guy, but I have to improve. Just like Jaylen Brown. I'm not a good shooter. Guess what? 3 years from now, I'm going to be a good shooter. Look what we're looking at. Jaylen Brown, a good shooter. Brad Stevens has to say, you know what? I'm not going to be the overly Nick Nurse motivational, yell at the refs, yell at my players type of guy. But I could probably tinker with a few things of my coaching style. I could probably do a few good things and, make improvements here and there. And then maybe my players start looking at me differently. Maybe it does more than I think. What do you have to lose if you're Brad Stevens at this point? Because what you're doing clearly isn't working. So to your point here, to your comment, Ray, if you are unable to reach your players, no matter how good of a coach you are, everything could be spiraling out of control. So you can't just keep doing what you're doing because that isn't reaching the players. The only way to dig yourself out of that hole is to try something new. So again, I'm not on the fire him bandwagon. I'm not, which is crazy because I sit here, for the last couple of weeks now and seemingly bashed him, but all I'm bashing is what he has been doing. If he goes and changes all of that, and it's not like I'm asking a lot. It's not. I'm asking him to take timeouts in the middle of 0 to 30 runs or, not sub out a player when it seems like he's playing well or just seem more engaged and involved in the game. I feel like those things are all pretty accomplishable. And that would, I think, do wonders for this team. So I'm not here to fire him. I'm here to say I want you to be the coach. Just be a better coach than who you are right now. I think it's fair. I think it's totally fair. Tommy's saying, I saw a stat that Smart, JB, JT, and Kemba have only played 28 total minutes together this season. Yeah, they can't stay healthy. Ray says, Carson Edwards is a one-man show. Steven says, can't beat Brooklyn because we can't score. Another Steven says, can we get Carol Lawson back? Bring her in. Tommy says, I think it's dumb to think it's on Brad. His roster is just not good enough. 13 bench points. Brad has a roster that is too top-heavy with no supporting cast. It doesn't matter. It's on everybody. I don't know how you say, it's a top-heavy team. That's why you blow 24 points to the Pelicans, right? And not take a timeout during them coming back from 24 points. You take one timeout at the end of it. There's only one guy that can call timeouts right there, and it's the coach. Call them. I think it's fairly simple. There's blame to go around for everybody. The people thinking Brad Stevens is squeaky clean, that's bull. The people thinking, it's only on Brad Stevens, that's probably bull too. But I think he has a way more pull within this team than people think. Young, two best players. I think if you had a coach that really demanded them to be better, I think they would be. Skipping ahead a little bit here. Techno says Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown doesn't respect Brad. I mean, I hope they respect him, but if they don't, then it could be a lost cause. I don't know. Jay says, Brad, in my opinion, blow third and fourth quarter momentums and leads. Brad Stevens, like teams, can never figure out zone defense. Brad leads undisciplined teams. Brad Stevens, teams shrink and meltdown because he's not a leader of men. Yeah, I mean, that's picking apart Brad Stevens. But the thing is here, Jay, I don't agree with all of it, but I'll say this. On any given night, any of those things can be true. And you're not, one of the top coaches in the league if you can't pick apart a zone or your team doesn't respect you. So the fact that any of those things can happen any given night, I think just aids right into my point of I think you can get better. Techno says they need to get John Wall. I don't know about that. I don't know if he would make it. That's like saying, trade Kemba for Russell. Does that really make them that much better? I don't know. Again, I'm not saying Kemba's that much better than either, John Wall or Russell Westbrook right now, but I don't know if it makes them better. I think they got so many issues with this team right now. If they go and just trade Kemba for another like guard who maybe does a little bit more, I'll give you that. I don't know if they're that much better, but I hear you. Chris says, I'm taking two elite scoring wings like Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum over Embiid and Simmons any day. I'm with you. I like that duo more. I think Embiid is unbelievable. Simmons I've been hard on, but I think I'm taking those two guys over too, but not the rest of the team. Steven says, who is Campbell? I think he meant to say Kemba. Let's see. Jason says Tatum said Duke coach call him soft at halftime. That motivated him. Tatum needs a different new coach. If Brad Stevens could be a little bit of a motivator, I'm not asking him to turn into the biggest motivational speaker in the world, right? Just be a little bit more motivational. I think it goes a long way. And I think any of the idiots, some of the bigger bloggers out there and whatnot, literally refusing to admit any fault towards Brad Stevens, I think that's just it's a shtick at this point. Because you got to be real with this team, and if you're being real, Brad Stevens is a major issue with this team. Is the biggest issue? I don't know. Is he, 50% of the issue? I don't know. But he deserves some sort of a blame here, right? You can say that Kemba Walker has been bad. You can say, it's the injuries. You can say Danny Ainge hasn't built a team. You could say the guys don't try. But you should also be able to say Brad Stevens has done a pretty crap job this year compared to where we want him to be. I think it's fair. So I'm not saying he's the only guy to blame, but to say that he's squeaky clean, I just can't agree with. Techno saying Brad Stevens reminds him of Mark Jackson. Ian saying, what do you think about signing Quinn Cook and Boogie, take away Teague and Thompson's minutes? I think Thompson has been above average, or not above average, above what people have kind of labeled him as this year, but like I said, I would take Boogie in a heartbeat. I think something needs to happen to this team, and you don't get that something by just getting nobody. DeMarcus Cousins clearly isn't going to be, asking for a lot, and I don't think he's that much of a risk. You get a cheap veteran guy who has had really great years in this league. Who knows what it can do? I don't see what the issue is. You know what I mean? I would hope that if you get Boogie, minutes come from Tice and Thompson combined, not just eliminate, Robert Williams' minutes altogether. I would hope that's the case, but I would take him. Techno saying at this point I would take Ricky Rubio. I think Ricky Rubio could be okay on this team. I'm not talking Ricky Rubio for Kemba trade, but that's a type of guy that I think could work well with the Jays. Kale says starts with Ainge. You can start it wherever you want. Like, I think it's fair. Like, I think it's too easy to say it starts with Ainge. I'm not saying it's wrong, but it definitely is like, you don't just say, hey, it starts with Ainge, and then the dominoes will follow. Some of the stuff that Brad Stevens has done this year, he could have Ainge have fixed this team. And if you're in the middle of a 24-point blown lead and you don't take a timeout, regardless of who's on the floor, and if that 24-point lead is happening and the blown lead is going on right now and you don't take a timeout, that's only on a coach. Now that's such a, like, I'm nitpicking, right? I totally give you that. I'm nitpicking. But it's too easy to say it starts at the top and then everything else is going to flow. You know what I mean? Danny Ainge, it starts, sure. Make a better team, construct a better team. But Brad Stevens sure as shit needs to be a better coach with that better team. If Brad Stevens does what he's done this year with another team, maybe they're a little bit better, but we're still going to have blown games. We're still going to have frustrating losses. Hey, it's my opinion. I'm sticking with it. I don't want to fire Brad, but I want him to be better. Oh, boy, I think I lost my place in the comments. All right, we're just going to start here. You guys are flying with the comments, so I'm just losing place here. This isn't even my fault. I'm trying to keep up with it, but they're just disappearing. Jason says, Nick Saban can take your team and beat you with them. He gets most out of his guys. And I do think that maybe I'm the idiot that's believing too much in a coach. Maybe we're all idiots if you're on my side. And if you were really one of those, the coach doesn't matter, then good for you, because you can sleep at night not having to worry about the coach. To me, I think it matters. I think Doc Rivers got the most out of his guys. He's getting the most out of his guys now. I think a lot of coaches in this league get the most out of their players. Is it a player-dominated league? Yes. Can coaches impact games? I think so. Steven says, Brad has the worst rotations. Grant hasn't been playing and then gets minutes tonight. Carson started 2 weeks ago and hasn't even played. Makes zero sense. It does. It's crazy. It's crazy. That's what gives me no confidence in it. There's no rhyme or reason other than him running simulations to giving these guys minutes. That's troubling to me. Jay says, but offensive schemes have been horrendous. We just let Tatum and Brown go ISO. And there's no... Yeah, Tatum and Brown going ISO is good every now and then. Like, you're going to need ISO plays. You're going to need a mine's bigger than yours type of play to let the other team know, oh my God, Tatum's the real deal. You're going to need those. But when you need buckets, you don't need those. Does that make sense? In the scheme of a game, you're going to need ISO plays because no one's going to be open. It's going to come down to a one-on-one with 5 seconds left in the shot clock. You need the ISO. But when you need buckets, the ISO shouldn't be there. That's last resort. Clint says Smart is harder on the players than Brad. I think Marcus Smart means so much to this team. Techno says, I think John Wall will help the Celtics. I think he could too, but I don't know if he puts them over the edge. Scott says, if you think the Boston Celtics have been bad, you ain't seen the Glasgow Celtics have been so terrible. I'm sure they are, because if they're worse than these Celtics, then yikes. Maybe no one named Celtic right now is playing well. Chris says Boston doesn't need a max salary guard. When will we learn? Smart and Pritchard are probably enough. Clint says Smart is obviously the guy holding the players accountable, not Brad. Smart is the leadership. Gear says Brad is the type of coach to read off Bible quotes during a crunch time timeout to hype up the players. Dean says Tatum and Brown given a pass. Defensive woes start with them too, which with too much penetration. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I admitted it last stream. Like, I think we're giving these guys a pass because of the leaps they've been taking, but they're still young. News says, so you want Cousins? Brad is already squeezing out Rob. You're going to crowd him out more. Cousins doesn't make this team better. I don't know if you said that after. I don't know if I'm behind in the comments, News, but I would hope the minutes would not come from Robert Williams. I hope all of a sudden, the three bigs that would probably end up playing would be like Robert Williams. I think should be getting the most minutes right now. Why not? You have a sub 500 ball club, give him the minutes. What do you have to lose? But I think Robert Williams, if you get DeMarcus Cousins, he's going to be a tester. Like, is he going to work or not? You're going to know pretty soon. If he works, you play him, and then maybe, then you can go depending on a matchup, Tice or Thompson. But all four of them, I don't want Robert Williams being the guy that gets squeezed out, for sure. Greg says, those max guys are better than Kemba, so yeah, it is. Chris says, Tatum and Brown have shown great playmaking ability late game, not to mention Smart, who is our point guard. Kale says, I agree, Cousins stunts Time Lord's future. If that's the case, like, I would hope, if that's Brad Stevens' idea coming in, like, they're two completely different big men. Like, I would see DeMarcus Cousins more or less replacing Daniel Tice, in my eyes. So if Brad Stevens is like, oh, we're going to get DeMarcus Cousins, it's going to be Tice, Thompson, and Cousins, then I'm not on board. I would hope Brad Stevens has seen enough out of Time Lord and Robert Williams to say, you know, we're going to try and build this guy. But I don't know. He's got me fooled so far. Kellen says, if Porzingis is a bill, let's try and swatch Kemba Grant picks for him. I mean, I like Porzingis. He's been banged up big time too, but I'd probably take him, obviously. Ray says, you hit the nail right on the head. These comments are flying. I can't keep up. You hit the nail right on the head. Taking players out when they're on fire. If you ask me, that's an idiot move. That goes for any sport, not just basketball. Right, and that goes for any of the guys on the floor too. Like, I have a feeling Brad Stevens could have an all-star team and somehow make a bad substitution. You know what I mean? Like, that's where my confidence is. It's not going to be my everlasting, you know, long-term, hopefully, confidence level in him, but it is right now. Russell says, make the pain stop. Guys, if you want the pain to stop, just subscribe to the YouTube channel. I swear to God, you subscribe right now, the Celtics win their next game. Right? I'm not making any guarantees right now, but definitely subscribe to the channel and like this stream. And if you're watching on Periscope, get your butt over to YouTube. I'm saying it. Too many Periscope comments in the chat tonight. Ian says the best move for the future of the Celtics is Kemba for Lonzo trade, including role players from both teams. Scotland said the coach focuses solely on stopping Luka all game. Look, Luka just waited and let the rest of the Mavs play. Jason said, I am sorry, but Grant needs to go. You do not have to be sorry. We just played the Grant Williams soundbite. You don't have to be sorry. Grant Williams, I'm done with the experiment. Even if he goes somewhere else and is like the Draymond Green that he's supposed to be, I just don't see that guy helping the Celtics right now. Brad says it seems they play Brown and Tatum. It seems like Brown and Tatum play isolation that much. The rest of the team just stands in place, no movement away from the ball at all. Yeah, and hey, why is that such like it seems like it's so unknown to the Celtics that when they have these high assist games, they win. Right? Why is it all of a sudden they have games where they seem to not pass the ball a lot, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, geez, would you look at that? We lost. I feel like they should have that down pat by now. Jay says, yo, Ev, how many more seasons are you willing to wait? It's been 8 years already for Brad. I don't know. I just don't know if there's a better option out there. I know. Maybe I'm just afraid to jump into the abyss, Jay. I'm not ready to fire Brad. I just want him to be better. I feel like I keep saying it over and over again, but that's where I stand. Brad Stevens is making it harder and harder for me to bite my tongue on saying fire him. I'll give you that. He's making it harder and harder and making your case better, but yikes. Gear says Neesmith needs to shoot more. Greg says trade Tice, the only option for center. You can get at least a decent bench score for him. Yeah. I mean, like I've said before, love Tice, love what he's done. He's probably going to get paid in, a year or so from now. Why not trade him? He's going to go somewhere else, and we're going to forget about him. He's not a guy that's like, oh, my God, Daniel Tice, we can't seem to go. We can't let go of him. Bull, Daniel Tice is going to go somewhere, and we're going to completely forget Daniel Tice on the Celtics. And that's coming from a guy that has loved what Tice has done this past couple of years. But I'm just being real. Daniel Tice is not a guy that we're going to miss once he goes somewhere else. That's a fact. Abdul saying Cousins over Tice. Gear says, I would rather have too many tough guys in the locker room and have locker room issues than too many soft players. I think so. Jason says, good coach would call Tatum and Brown out when they rest on defense sometimes. Yeah, I agree. Chris says, if Tice and Thompson are starting, a healthy Boogie and Time Lord would be an ultimate upgrade. Yeah. Like I think DeMarcus Cousins, I honestly think, could come in here and do what Tice is doing at the very least. Maybe he wouldn't work as hard. Maybe it wouldn't work out, but it's not like you risk that much to bring him in. You know what I mean? So why not come in and see that? I don't know. Techno says the Celtics offense is just jump. They need to get inside and score. Yeah, and when they go to the hoop, they seem to play well. Abdul says, can you imagine Danny extending the contract of Grant Williams? I know I've used this sound a lot, but if I have to read Grant Williams' name one more time, the stream is over. And just a few more comments here. Jan says, Taco is the best bench player and never plays. Every time Taco plays, the Celtics win, even the game where he started. Dean says, switched over. Yes, Dean is now on YouTube. Here we go, guys. Get in the YouTube chat. Jason, I know you're always in the Periscopes. Head over to YouTube, man. Russell says, subscribed. Awesome. That means we're beating the Hawks tomorrow. I did make that guarantee. We'll see. Techno says, what happened to the Celtics on the Brad Stevens? Greg says, Taco needs more time. Like, how don't you play him against Boban? Even Scalabrini wanted that switch. It is not interesting. That's not the right word. It is sort of alarming that a team like the Mavericks and who is it, the Pistons, Clippers, I forget what other teams Boban's been on, to be completely honest. but they'll throw out the ridiculously tall guy and see how he does, right? And then he's been all right. Like, I don't think Boban plays that much with Porzingis and Kleber actually in. I could be wrong about that. I've only watched a couple of Mavericks games this year, the nationally televised ones. He doesn't play that much when those guys are in. But isn't that type of guy it's worth throwing out there every once in a while, seeing how he's doing? Taco Fall is not that for the Celtics right now, and I think you could benefit from it. But like I've said all along, if you play Taco Fall, where do the minutes come from? If they come from Tice, if they come from Thompson, I'm in on it. I just don't want him, preventing Robert Williams. Similar to bringing a big man into the team. Jason says, I love Tice. I just believe he needs to come off the bench. I love Tice too, and I think he's a true bench guy. Daniel Tice off the bench is good, but I think he's going to get overpaid at the end of his contract. I think it's like this upcoming year, to be honest. I think he's going to get overpaid, and I do think he's going to be a guy you don't miss. That's just me being completely honest. All right, guys, we're going to start closing down the stream. Make sure you do subscribe to the channel. And, like this stream and turn on those post notifications so you notify when we get live. We do drop other videos here. I put some of the highlights from the stream here. Guys, if you do want to help me out, it's happened just kind of naturally. A bunch of you guys have done it. But if you think there's any sort of timestamps or whatnot in these post-game streams that seem like they'd be a good, video idea or a good clip or a good sort of content, be sure to just DM me and let me know. We're posting some highlights on the YouTube channel now, and that's thanks to a couple of you guys that are in the stream every single night, sort of, being like, oh, this is a good topic, like the Andre Drummond. I went on a rant about Andre Drummond. Someone said, hey, from 2 minutes and 43 seconds to 5 minutes and 10 seconds, you talked about this. Post that up. So it definitely helps me out. So consider that. Just getting clips and stuff on the YouTube channel. We also have my podcast on the channel, and we have Jack, Sam, Kenny, and Tim doing the pregame show. We got a lot coming on this channel. We're slow building it right now, and we're so close to 300 subscribers, which is crazy in just like a month and a half, right? So thank you guys for subscribing. We'll read a couple more comments, and then we're going to log off for the night. Gear says, the good thing about Boogie, he's not a pussy. He will call guys out if he needs. So I think he could do a lot. I think he's just an attitude to have. He's probably the guy you love on your team, but hate if he's not on your team, that type of thing. I would take him. Jay says, how many more seasons are you willing to give Brad before a voice is in order in Boston? Not many, man. Not many. News says, Semi Ojeleye was brought in to guard Boban. Think about that. That is tough. Techno says, I think Andre Drummond could help the Celtics. He has a good defensive big and he could score inside. Yeah, Techno, check out that video. Like I was just talking about those highlights. It is posted on the channel. Check that out because it is very much something that I'm willing to consider. Like, why not? He'd be one of your better bigs already immediately. Why not bring in Andre Drummond? Chris says, don't forget to like the stream. Appreciate that, Chris. And Greg says, I'll DM you so much. Greg says, I DM you so much. I feel like you're starting to hate me for it. I don't hate any DMs. I just get. This is not a brag. I'll play Grant Williams sound for myself. I just get a fair share of DMs. So if someone DMs me and I don't see it or I respond to the second DM, 1,000,000%, I do not hate you. In fact, I encourage it. Greg, Gear, I know you guys DM me a lot too. Like, continue, fly away. The guys that have earned the spots in the streams over the years, those DMs I will do my damn surest to get back to, and I won't hate it. So, Greg, don't hate you. Even when you're drinking, what was it? You were like mixing Budweiser and what was it? Budweiser and Four Loko. You're pouring those in the same cup and drinking it. Yeah, I remember that. That was as close as I ever got to hating you. But I'll catch you guys in the next stream. Hopefully, it's tomorrow, right? So hopefully I say it like that. Hopefully we're talking about a win and now we're having some more fun on here. But as always, you guys make even losing somewhat fun by the end of the night. So, yeah, hopefully we're talking about a dub next game, but I'll catch you guys in the next stream. Can't believe I'm saying this, but I still believe the Celtics team is legit. I got to use my catchphrase, even if I don't truly believe.